left the pigs out and things, whatever we could do. We couldn't save the building. It went so fast. There was a cutter in there. I remember. It was part of the barn.
A cutter? What's a cutter?
A cutter for going in the snow with a horse, with a one-horse open sleigh.
Or was a cutter is a one-horse sleigh?
Yeah, with the fields on both sides. That would have been antique now. Anyway, I left the cows out, and then the barn burnt down to the ground, and I remember the chickens flew into the fire because it was dark then already, and the wind carried the debris to the next farm property, Emolitki's. We had a rail fence there, and some of the rails even caught on fire in the field. It was about 40 acres away maybe. And then my dad come home from behind the field, and I remember him crying. I had never seen my father cry before. And that night we had a shower on some neighbors that were getting married, and that followed that up because Harold Nuschel and I, we were going to go make a chivalry. So I remember that quite a bit. And Raymond didn't know any better at that time, but it's the way it goes. The kids always have matches in their pockets, and to this day.
You were going to make a chivalry and you were 10 years old?
Well, it was take a saw and pound on it and have a few beers or whatever it would be and just get together. But maybe not, because that was Harold Nugent and I, that was our plans when in school. But at night, apparently we were going to get some company because my mother was going to have company. That's the reason that she wanted that gas for that lantern or that light, because we didn't use the gas light otherwise. It was just on special occasions, because the mantle light made a nice white light instead of the kerosene light.
You didn't have electricity in those days?
No. And I remember...
No electricity on the farm in 1929?
No, there was no electricity, and there wasn't any... there was no radio. I know we went to the neighbors to listen to the Lone Ranger. My dad used to play 66 with my uncle, Robert Litke. And it was Monday nights the Lone Ranger was on.
What's 66?
It's a card game.
Oh.
No, 66. And then...
Did you have indoor plumbing on that farm?
No, there was no plumbing. We had no plumbing until we moved our house to Rock Creek.
Where was your bathroom? Where was your toilet?
Outside. In fact, outside toilet. In fact, we got myself a 22. I got a 22 for selling salve years ago. We never had a gun. We never got trained with a gun. My dad never had a gun. And we got a 22 for selling salve. And Raymond, he shot out a hole in a knot, but it happened to be in the back house, and then there's somebody sitting in that knot, it would have shot right through him, because it was just in a place where that person would have been sitting. Good thing the back house was empty.
Back house, you mean the outhouse toilet?
Yeah, that's right. And then we had a round cast iron big bowl where they used to heat water in for butchering pigs, so that you could get the hair off the hogs. And we tried to shoot at the edge of that top in the inside of the cast iron bowl, so that the bullet would kind of intended to go around like that. We probably couldn't see it, but we broke the cast iron bowl. So we I guess we got the gun taken off our hands for a while. But it's a miracle that we didn't get hurt, because we never had any training with the rifle.
Who did it? Who shot the gun?
I think I did that.
You did that?
I think so.
Who got the blame for it? You or your
I don't
brother?
remember about that. The only time I got a spanking, I remember that. I was older then, and it was my own fault. But
what'd you get a spanking for?
well, I had an upstairs bedroom, and I didn't. It was at noon hour, and I didn't want to come out yet. I had some things I wanted to do, and my dad wanted me to help him. And he called me, and then he come upstairs because I didn't come, and I locked the door. When I opened that door, I got it. So that's the only thing I remember the spanking.
Did he spank you with the hand or with the strap or
with a hand.
book? Or?
We didn't have. My dad never used a strap. Never used a shaving strap. He had. I don't know. He had a safety razor. I remember. One time we got L. They were gone, and we never had much candy years ago, and so we'd always cook up some candy and try to make it. And that one night we were up pretty late. I don't know. We could have stayed up, but we were supposed to be in the bed, I suppose. And we had the kerosene lamp lit, but we blew it out quick and went upstairs. And my dad come home. The shade was still hot, and he picked it up and he dropped it, broke it. So I guess we got a spanking for that too. We were supposed to in bed.
When you say we got a spanking, who was we? You?
Maybe Ray and I.
Ray?
I don't know if Ray got it, but I know I catching hell, but maybe I didn't get a spanking. But I know I got it that time when I wouldn't open the door.
Ray was your younger brother?
Yeah, he's 5 years younger.
Yeah, who are your brothers and sisters?
Well, I got Ray, and then Marvin is no, then Madeline is the Mrs. Frank Husnick. She's the next in age, and Marvin is the youngest.
Well, who's the oldest in your family?
I am.
Okay, and then who's next?
Raymond and Madeline and Marvin.
Marvin's the baby of the family.
Correct.
Okay. And when was Marvin born?
Well, I don't know. Must be about 10, 12 years spread. See, Raymond was 5 years younger than I am. Madeline is about 2 or 3, and Madeline was born on Christmas Day. And the other two, and Raymond's birthday is August 9th, August sometime, and Marvin's I forgot.
Do you remember that Christmas day when she was born?
Yes, I remember when Marvin was born too. My dad told us about it.
But do you personally remember that Christmas day when she was born?
Not too well, but I just know that not too well. I remember Marvin's birthday. That's about all I remember about that.
What's the other thing you remember when you were very young?
Well, I told you a few things. I don't know.
You worked on the farm in the summers, right?
Yeah, we worked. Well, I went to the U.S. Plywood when I was 17. Had to get a permit. Well, I went to grade school for 8 years at Rock Creek. I walked over there most of the time.
How far was that?
About a mile. We walked to school with the Nugels. Harold was a year older. He was born the same day that my parents were married, and so he was a year older. And then we used to play ice hockey, and on the creek there. And then I had with a hemlock knot, we used to hit it, and from one end to the other. And I got in my teeth there, and I got a chip knocked out, and I had to get a gold piece put in there. And then I went to school for 1 year at Casco, and I took the bicycle there quite a few times, and I rode along with somebody that worked there. That was 4 miles. But then my dad's barn burned down, which I said before, then I had to quit. I remember picking up the stones and the lime, and my fingers bleeding too. Those years, it seems we had no gloves or what it was. Our sleeves were always rolled down. We never had them rolled up. We never had short sleeves. Then Raymond had a appendicitis operation, I guess, and I could babysit with him. I could sit with him one night at Oklahoma Hospital and help me for 1 or 2 days.
Helped you how?
But I didn't have to work with them stones.
So that your hands got a chance to heal.
Heal up, yeah.
Didn't you ever tell your dad that was too much hard work picking those stones?
No, he didn't. We never complained. We never had no beer. We didn't. I used to haul milk with the horses, with one horse, Nellie, to haul milk to the Rock Creek. And
Did your dad own the horse, Nellie?
yeah, we had about 3 or 4 horses. One night the light was on in the barn. My dad went there with a club. One of the horses was loose. That's when we had current. He must have got against the light switch and flipped the switch on. I can remember my dad went to the barn with a club in his hand. That was when we had current. That's after the new barn was put up. See, what were we talking about before? I guess you were asking about.
Well, you said you went to the plywood. You had to get a permit. What kind of permit did you need to go to the plywood?
We had to get a permit to work at 17. You had to be 18. And then I started at 22.5 cents an hour. And
what year was that?
1937. And then I started at 22.5 cents an hour, and then there was a strike. It was a union, and we didn't want us to join the union, so we got fired, and then we went on a strike, and then we got back, and I got back at 25 cents an hour. And I remember playing cards on Model A because you could sit them seats back, and then you could sit on the 2 front seats backwards, and then we had a little piece of plywood and played a little shaskum. I remember winning a baseball pool. I made $3 or $4, which was quite a bit of money at that time when I was at the plywood. And then I got laid off for a number of years, and then I worked for for John Usual for a while on the farm.
What was your dad doing when you were working at the plywood? Was he working at the plywood too?
No, my dad was on the farm all the while until they sold the farm at Rock Creek, and then they moved to Algoma, and then he went to work in the shipyards at Sturgeon Bay, and then when that eased off, then he went to the plywood, and he retired at 65 so that he could get more money for Social Security.
What year did he retire?
Uh, I don't know. He died in '63, I guess. So he must have retired in '61. He only lived about 2, 3 years.
So you worked at the plywood, and then for John Nugel. What'd you do for John Nugel?
Working on the farm, and he put up a building, and we put up a house, and helped with that, and I guess, and then I worked in the plywood, and I got to know woodwork pretty good, and
Now we're continuing December 24th, 1980, with memories of Harlan Obry and his joyful youth. And you were saying, Harlan, that you'd worked how long at the plywood when you were 17 before they went on strike?
between 6 months and a year, and then they went on strike, and then they got laid off. Then that's when I worked for John Nugel a while, and was married during that time. And then when they hired people again, then went back to work there. I worked there till 20, way over 20 years. And when we bought the store, then I worked at the store and at the plywood at the same time. So you get some money to pay for the place. It's easy to buy it, but then you have to pay for it. Although I borrowed the money at 4% rate of interest, and the owner that owned it, Rex Hunneman, he left his money on there, and we made payments till we could afford it, but we tried to pay off as much as we could. There was no set amount of payments per month, and there was no set amount the time that there was no set amount the time I had to pay it.
Did you have a written contract with him?
Yes, there was no contract, but no mode of payment, not a certain amount of
But
payment.
you had a written contract that you owed him a certain amount.
Right, yes.
But you never were sure how much interest you had to pay him or how fast you had to pay him.
We had to pay a rate of 4%, but that's all. Whatever, there was no set time that we had to pay it.
I see. You said we bought the store. I'm assuming you didn't buy it alone then. You had somebody else that bought it with you.
Well,
we were talking, you were 17 and you'd met, I think you'd said you'd met a girl there. And who was the first girl you dated?
Well, the first one was Viola, my wife. No.
Viola?
Yeah. And then.
And how'd you meet her?
Well, we were trying to make extra money, and my dad said that there was cut some grass or some brush there on a town road in the town of Casco, and I was cutting there, and I think I was alone. And then the women, some girls walked by, and I didn't know if I should talk to them or not, but I guess I did. And then they stopped, and they told me to come and play ball there on Sunday afternoons in the yard. And so I did that. Earl Glander, I guess, went along. Earl and I were pretty good friends through the Young People's Society at Rankin. And then I could take the car once a week, and he could have the car once a week. And then we could go out twice a week. But then we'd play ball there, usually Sunday afternoons, in the barn. The Jenner John barn was used for a backstop where you hit the ball against in case we got hit too far, the barn would stop it. So it was fun.
When you say the Jenner John's barn, where was this barn that you played ball in?
Well, that's owned by Hillary Bunda now. It's in the town of Casco, about a mile or a mile and a half west of Alaska or in Kewaunee County.
And who was living there at that time?
My future father-in-law and my wife and her family.
Now, didn't she have a sister?
Well, Myrtle and Norma and Ellen, yeah. It was.
But you weren't attracted by any of her sisters. You just.
Well, the wife was pretty attractive, slim and I guess when you're young, they all look pretty good, don't they?
So, would you go the very next Sunday to that ball game there with the girl?
It could have been. That's been 40 years ago. It could have been.
What year was that you first met her? Do you remember?
Well, it would have been about 1936, 37. I imagine fall of 36. Because there were a lot of weeds there, a lot of underbrush in there, and it had to be cut down. And that time, everything was done by hand.
1936, that was a depression, wasn't it?
Well, the depression. The depression was earlier. In 30, I know my dad and parents. I know that one milk check. I didn't know at that time it was in cash, but now I have an envelope about that tall, that wide, and it's. I think it was $29 or $23 was the milk check that they got in 1 month from milk. And I remember my dad complaining about money was scarce. So the depression was pretty well over. My dad had a 1936 Chev, and I had an accident with it one night right on the corner here. Mexicans came down on across right in front of my place here now, and they were going to go onto the up in a corner, and they were going to make a left turn, and they cut in front of me, and it was all whippet, and I can still see the headlight going straight up in the air. They had an old whippet, and we had a 36 Chev with new Chev.
What's a whippet?
It's an old car, and I had told my wife I was going to take a different gal out, and I didn't tell her, but I had to tell her later. And she was with me that night, and at the end of that.
So you were cheating on your future wife?
Well, I don't know if it was cheating or not, but I figured I was young, and my cousin Roland Litke told me I should go with different girls. So I took my cousin's advice. He's dead now. And,
so what happened when you got home? You told your dad what you did to the car.
Well, it was sort of a bad night, I guess, but he didn't take it. I don't remember too much, but it really wasn't my fault. I didn't realize really at that time that it wasn't my fault, because the man made a cut right in front of me, and he should have waited until I went past. But they were drinking, and so I guess I don't know how it came out. I wouldn't know now, but at that time you don't realize it was just an accident. It was like a bad dream.
So what happened with the date, the girl, Jew?
Well, I don't know how they got home, and there was somebody in the back seat that had twisted her ankle a little bit, but there wasn't anybody hurt otherwise, and that ended that.
So you didn't have any romance for that girl anymore?
No, and she got married, and now she's dead. She died of cancer. She was a nurse here in the Kiwani Hospital.
What was her name?
Leclue. Forgot her first name. She was a Leclue.
So after that, you date any other girls other than Viola?
No, I never did. I meant to. There was one pretty attractive, but I never got around. And after I got married, that was it.
So that was what, 1936 that all happened?
No, it would have been 37.
37.
It would have been 37. No, in 36 I didn't.
And for you and your family, the depression was pretty much over by then.
Yes, yeah. My dad had a new car, so it must have been.
What's the worst thing you remember during the depression? Was there a Christmas where there weren't any presents, or?
No, I just remember that my dad was complaining. They had a record. There was a record that we played on a phonograph, and that record said about the depression, that it said how it was. And my dad used to play that on the record player, and then they tried to get the impression across to the public that there was hard times in trying to get more money for the mill. Like I said before, that small there was very little money coming in.
What were your hobbies back then when you were 16, 17, and you were just before you got married?
I wrote to some people in this. I wrote to a girl, and it was in Illinois. And I got some answers from her, and I tried to look her up the last couple of years, and we thought we could visit down there, but I never got a reply. And then I started collecting coins, and my dad didn't take too much of it, but they play a lot of shaska. We still do, or sheephead. And there was always pennies then, and my dad didn't want me to play, but I played cards since I was, I think, 12, 13 years old, since my parents would let me sit in. And then there was a lot of Indian head pennies. Well, the last Indian head penny was 1909, and I must have been playing. See, I was born in 1919, and I must have been playing in 29 or 30. So there were a lot of Indian pennies around, and my dad had some put away, and I don't know if I asked him for permission, but all of a sudden I had them, and that's I guess my coin collection started, and then
From playing Shaska, you got your
yeah, from playing Shaska, playing
start
cards.
with pennies.
That's right, and then what money was hard to get those. Well, a quarter was, I think, the admission to the dance was 10 cents or a quarter, so it went a long ways. But there wasn't much money to be made either. Anyway, there wasn't any coin books at that time, and you didn't know what was good. I didn't. I found a dime in 1894 dime, and I knew that 1894 dime was scarce because I had gotten a book from B. Maxwell at Texas, and that was $300, I guess, and I was looking for that 1894 dime, and I didn't know what a mint mark meant. But that's the O, that's the S, that's the expensive one, and mine is a O now. But still, that's the one, the first coin I remember getting, and then I put it in on top the piece of board that's in the closet in my bedroom. That's where my grandma died later on, in that same bedroom. But I put it on top of that board, and the board is about 1 inch thick, so it was easy to start the coin to put it on top of that piece of board up there. And I had it there quite a while, and then I got more coins. Now I got 4 boxes, and two big boxes and 2 small boxes here in the banks in Kiwani. So I guess I have a big coin collection.
And all started from an 1894 dime.
1894 S, 1894 O for Obry. Yeah.
So that you started before you were married, even.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you got married?
I was 18. Let's see, so I'd been 18 in May, so I was 17.
17, turning 18.
Yeah.
What year was that?
And February 19th of 38, and I was 18 and May 4th of 38.
And you were going to Casco High School then?
Yeah, well, no, I had only went 1 year to Casco High School, and then my father's barn burnt down, and then I had to help with that, and there wasn't much money, and I never finished high school because I would say because of that, because I was the oldest in the family, and I had to help on the farm.
Was that sort of your decision or your dad's decision, or just reality that you didn't have the money around?
Well, I don't know if it really was the money so much that wasn't around. It was just the work was there. And then my dad hired my cousin Ralph Hawk for a while. He's dead now too, and he lived with us for a while. And so it really wasn't the money that I didn't go to high school. It was because there was work to be done, and I stayed home.
So then you got married. Did you stay on your dad's farm after you got married, or?
Well, we went working for John Nugel because I didn't get back to the plywood, and we lived there, and we helped build him. He built a piece onto his house, and I helped on the farm. And then
That was 1938.
it must have been 38, yes. And then we, in the fall, I suppose, I know we lived in Algoma for a while, and we lived by George Jennerjohn's for a while, my father-in-law, for maybe 6 months or so. And then I got the house where on my dad's farm, where the Litke house was, and then I bought it from my father. I think it was $500, and we moved it to Rock Creek, and we were there for some time, and right across from the schoolhouse, but the schoolhouse is now torn down. It's still there. John Halsbach is living in the home now.
And how was the first year when you were married? Was it tough times, or were things pretty easy going, or?
Well, I don't remember really too much financials any time. It maybe was, but the time I remember anything with money, really, it was that when we bought the store, I think I paid $18,000 or $19,000 for it, and I had only a few thousand, and all of a sudden I had money before, and then after a while I didn't have money because I had to pay for the place. So my objective was to get it paid for, and I worked a lot of times overtime. The wife worked in the store, and the overtime was the only good thing about it was the money to get the store paid for, because it's a long day when you start at 7 in the morning, and if the boss would ask you if you want to work at overtime at 9 o'clock, you know you'd have to go a long day. But didn't seem so bad if he'd ask you around 11 o'clock because you had 4 hours in already. And at night the time went a little faster working, it seemed.
So that was, you actually got married, when you got married you were still working in the plywood.
I don't think I was in a plywood then.
You were working with John Nugel then when you got married.
I don't remember where. Let's see once where. I don't know where I was then. I might have been. Maybe no. I don't think we worked for John Nugel either when we were married. It must have been in a plywood, and then I got, then because of the strike they cut the crew back, and then they just had to find someplace else.
All right, then we're up to about 1939. How many children did you have in 1939?
Well, Jeannie is the oldest.
She was born what year?
And must have been the fall of '38. In fall, her birthday is. Let's see, David's is October and Carol's is October 11th, and there's 3 of them on 11 now. I don't know the other 2. Not to ask all of that. A lot of men remember forget the children's birthdays.
What was Jeannie's full name?
Jeannie, there was a song out at that time, Jeannie with the light brown hair, and I don't know what her middle name is.
And is that why you named her Jeannie, because of the song?
No, it just came out at the same time.
Well,
I remember that Jeannie with the light brown hair. And then David was born there too, I guess. And then I went to the service.
Is there any reason why you named David David?
No, we just like the name, I guess. It's a nice short name, and Dave is a nice nickname, so we didn't spend too much time with it.
Okay. You were in the service, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted. There was 5 cousins went in at the same time, and we had a photo taken of it.
Who were the 5 cousins?
I figured you were going to ask me that. There was 4 besides me. There was 1 or 2 Hawks, and there was a Nugel. I think, I don't know if it was Harlan Nugel or it was, and there was Maynard Hawk, and I think there's Lester Hawk, and then don't know who the other one was.
Hawk, how do you spell that Hawk?
Capital H-A-A-C-K, or H.
How were they related? Through your grandmother's side, or?
Well, my dad's sister was married to a Hawk, so it was through my dad's, and then the Nugel was my dad's sister too. That was Aunt Emma. And
do you have a picture you got a copy of that picture around yet?
yes, yeah, there should be one here.
You got it handy?
No, I don't. No, we did have to look for it. It wouldn't be time for the tape to take it off the tape. To wait for the tape. But then I was in for 2 years. I remember one song when they played that in Little Rock, especially that Sentimental Journey. That always got me lonesome for home.
Is that where you did your basic training in Little Rock?
Yeah, and well, then I had a hernia. They drafted me with a hernia. I had a belt on.
Who drafted you now? You were in what service? You were in the Army?
The Army, yeah.
And do you remember your serial number or the?
I know my serial number for. No, I don't. I got the dog tags. I just ran into the dog tags yesterday. I seen the dog tags.
What were they? You got the serial numbers? What were they?
The commander. I got it here. No, I don't know. I met the commander
Anyway, you were stationed in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah. And
did your basic training, and then where'd you go?
I didn't finish the basic training right away. I went in with John Merritt went with us, and I had this hernia, and I had the belt on, and the doctor said, "What do you want that on for?" Well, I says, "It hurts if I don't wear it." I got hurt in the plywood, and the plywood didn't pay for it, so I thought, to heck with it. I'll just use it. I could get along good with the belt on. And then when the Army doctor I think he thought that I wanted to get out and go into the service. I didn't mind going, and if I had to go, I had to go. And the people said that the war was going to be over pretty soon anyway. But that was a farce too. It was far from over. Anyway, then.
What year was that you were in the service?
1944.
What month?
I think it was July.
Midsummer you were in.
Yeah, and then I took the belt off and I sent it home. And in 2 weeks I had a hernia operation. And then I went, it took a while, then I went overseas to Japan. And then I got to be made, I got in the stockroom, and we deactivated one stockroom, and then I got to be made, I got promotions, and I went up so fast, I never even got my corporal stripes sewed on, because I went from PFC to sergeant. And then I had it made. I didn't have to take much training, and I remember one night there was a GI went uptown to take out a girl, and he picked on a girl that was married to who was her husband alongside of her, and then the Japanese police picked him up and put him in jail. But the next night, him and some of his GI buddies, they went and they had some Japanese souvenirs. Our American guns were locked up, but they had these souvenirs, guns and things like that, and they went down and cleaned up that police station. And after that, then they had to turn in all of their Japanese souvenirs, and it was up to me to dispose of them. So I threw them.
Where was this?
In Japan.
This must have been after the war.
Well, I was in 45.
45.
After the war, yeah.
So you were stationed in Japan after the defeat of Japan.
Right, but there was still some.
When you say the GIs went down there and cleaned up the Japanese police station, you mean they mopped the floor for them and cleaned the washroom, or?
Well, they just wanted to get revenge because this guy got picked up the night before, but actually he had it coming because he picked this girl and she was with her husband. Anyway, then they had a.
What did they do in the Japanese police station? They busted up or break the windows?
No, they really busted it up. That's what I heard. I didn't see it, but anyway, then they had to turn in all these guns and swords, and it was up to me to dispose of them. And I didn't want to burn them, and I had to do something, so I threw them down. We had them put in the outside toilets. There was where all the stuff was in the toilet, and we threw them down in there. But I kept couple of them back. That's how I got my souvenirs.
You still got those souvenirs?
Yeah, I traded one sword for a 1922 plane cent.
Can we see those souvenirs if you got them handy?
I think so.
All right, let's see them.
I got the sword, I believe. Here's the gun. That's a Japanese rifle. I got it so I can fire a regular shell in it, and the sword is here's the sword that the lieutenants would carry in battle.
Oh.
And then I have
that was a Japanese lieutenant's sword.
Okay.
Is there an insignia on it? Does it say anything on it?
Yeah, but you can't read it. It's written in Japanese.
Let's see. I'll just get a picture of it, maybe.
Maybe if I put it in the sunlight here, it's right here.
Okay, just hold
And
it
this
still.
is. And this is fish skin here, and it's pretty. And then the other one here was supposed to bend for cutting off the heads of the people. This came apart here on me and almost cut me in my finger.
That's a samurai sword then.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Was that one of the same which was confiscated?
Yeah. I shouldn't have got this done. I had it re-chromed. This one here I didn't, but this one here I did, and I shouldn't have got that done. I should have known better. But
is there anything inscriptions on that one? Or?
There is, I guess, someplace. It's inside the handle.
Well, it's inside the handle.
Yeah, and you don't. Yeah. When I retire, then I can get into it more. I haven't sold anything except that sword. I kind of wish I'd have had the other sword too yet.
And that rifle is a single shot rifle, I take it, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I fired it, and it fires a 30-06. And I cut the wood off the front of it here, so I make it a little lighter. It has quite a sight here. You can raise it way up to there. And it's pretty accurate. It's a bolt action.
Is that what the Japanese used to snipe us?
Yeah, that's their rifle.
They're sniping Americans in the Pacific with that, huh?
Well, any place, I guess. I made pretty good marks with my for even the service, you know, from home.
With contraband when you came back from the war.
That's about it. I don't think I must have carried them home. I don't think I could send them home because I don't think you could send them home. I don't know how I got them home. I must have carried them home. And then I was in until 46, so I was in almost 2 years.
And you spent most of that time stationed in Japan after the war.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you stationed exactly? What city?
Well, it was about 15 miles from Tokyo, because I know we went to Tokyo. The guys would get some. Well, I was sergeant, and the guys get a truck, and we'd take a ride. And some of them guys wanted to sell something on the black market. I know we. One day we took some soap and we sold soap. And one guy put put soap bars in for cigarette packages. I wouldn't have nothing to do with that. He'd fill up the bottom of the cigarettes with soap bars, and then the top with cigarette packages. Sold them for $2 a carton, I guess it was. I didn't smoke, so I never had. I give my cigarettes to my friends, but then the guy was selling my cigarettes, so after that I sold them too. After all, it was $2 a package or whatever it was, and it was close to Tokyo where we were stationed.
Did you get a feeling from the Japanese when you were stationed there after the war? Were they friendly toward you, or they feel hostile, or they feel resigned? Or?
Well, I didn't get no feeling. No, some guys would. The guys that were maybe in the service. I didn't shoot at anybody. The worst we had was these suicide planes. They would come after the boat, and they'd get the entire boat. And I remember Tokyo Rose on the radio. She'd play a song for the GIs, and then before I made sergeant, before I got my position, I was a carpenter, and we built the barracks at Sakama Prison. And you could see when we got the building done, you could on the top, on the roof, you could look down into the prison, and there you could see Tokyo Rose and all the businessmen that were on trial in the prison there. And they were all usually had black suits on, and they were older people, older men.